Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Welcome to being here. I'm Ariel.
I'm Shya.
This particular episode is Grrr or great. It's up to you.
Especially in this moment.
Yeah, you ever find yourself growling at circumstances? It's when you go about it as if they're not your idea, rather than the circumstances are just either informational or they're perfect.
Well, they're perfect because to the degree that you're present in your life could only be showing up exactly as it is.
And if you're not, you tend to...
It can only be showing up the way it is then too, you see. It can only be showing up the way it is.
A bit of drama for yourself.
Right. So, what are we talking about this morning? Grrr, or great. It's up to you.
It really is.
It really is.
And it's a moment-to-moment choice. Wouldn't you like to be able to say, okay, I'm going to be great?
Forever.
That's it.
Always.
End of story.
Never moody again.
I'm great.
Until the next thing comes up that you don't like. I fly fish.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
I got to take you fly fishing again with me.
I was going to go recently.
You got to get a license though now.
Oh yeah, that's true.
We don't have a license for you.
Okay, I'll do it.
But I was thinking about now that the bugs are coming off the water. Mm-hmm. I'll explain that. Trout feed on aquatic insects that have a life below the surface of the water and a life above the surface of the water. So the mature insect lays eggs on the surface, they sink to the bottom. There they live in a larval stage, a curly stage on the bottom of the river for however long they do. And then they come to the surface and emerge in a transformed state, going from a creepy crawly thing into a flying thing. Mm-hmm. It's transformational, truly. And the fish feed on them. So anyway, this is the time of the year that's happening, and it's really fun, and I think you'd enjoy yourself. So I'd like to bring you back to the river.
Sounds good.
Okay, next thing. You can either listen to what I talk about as though you're interested, or you can be waiting for me to finish what I'm saying so we can talk about the important things
in your life,
in your reality, what's important, which really isn't important in the reality of reality. It's only important in the conversation in your thoughts.
So here Shya was speaking about bugs and the life of aquatic insects and how they operate. And you can either be having a separate conversation. Where is he going with this? Or what does this have to do with Grrr or great?
Or what does this have to do with living in the moment?
Or wait a minute, he fishes, isn't that mean? Or whatever your conversation is. Or you can listen.
And listening isn't thinking about what's being said to see whether you agree, disagree, already know this, or this is boring. Mm. Because you could do that. Mm. Waiting for the real thing to happen that's of interest to you.
Almost as if you're taking a breath, holding it, and waiting to launch with whatever it is that you have prepared
to talk about. I noticed that. When I go fishing, mm-hmm. As I'm leaving the river, my thought processes automatically start rehearsing what to say to you about how my experience was on the river that day.
Well, now question, while you're fishing though,
no,
you're not doing that. You're just...
No. While I'm fishing, I am not there. See, while I'm fishing, the thoughts pretty much shut down because I'm in the experience of looking through my eyes at that fly floating across the surface of the water.
Well, I like what you're saying about this because when you're actively engaged, the I that we associate ourselves with, I am Ariel. You might say, I am Shya. I did well on the river today. I caught XX.
Triple X.
Triple X. It gets suspended. And when you disengage,
thought process starts again.
It re-engages and has a conversation with itself.
It rushes in to fill the space.
So when you're feeling growly, chances are you've disengaged for whatever reason.
Well, yes.
You don't like the circumstances. You don't want the
You're disagreeing with something.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Hey, that's a good place to start.
Let's start with our first guest.
Steve, where are you?
Welcome to being here, and tell people where you're zooming in from.
Good morning. This is Steve. I'm in Manhattan, New York City.
Nice. And yes, we are recording this in the morning, even though we release it.
I realized
we said morning also. So.
Hey, you can't.
Moin, moin. If you say moin, it's German, and it kind of handles Northern German. It handles all day.
Right. So, what would you like to talk about, Steve?
Well, I love this topic. I saw the question, do you ever feel growly? I was like, yes, all the time. And yet I'm aware of it now. Thanks to coming to your seminars, I think I catch it better. But I would say that this year, I've had that feeling more than in a while due to various circumstances.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you like feeling growly?
No.
Do you think you should not be growly when you're growly?
Yes. Well, I don't feel it while I'm growly, but, retrospectively, I judge myself for it.
Great. Well, what do you think that's going to produce? Given the look, you're a smart guy. I know you. Given the 3 principles of instantaneous transformation, the first one being anything you don't like, don't want, resist, think should be different, stays exactly as it is, except it gets worse. So what do you think?
Yeah, it definitely gets worse when it persists if I'm still judging myself for having it in that way.
So knowing that, it should be instantaneous that you're free of it, don't you think?
Unless you're being right about something, Steve.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. I have been right about a few things, yes.
Is there anything you're not right about?
That's a tough one.
Really?
I have a strong system of judgment in many areas of my life, yes. Well, and I'm aware of it, but I may not always catch it when it's operating.
Okay, but Steve, I asked a question. Is there anything you're not right about?
Well, honestly, no.
Very good. I want honesty. This transformation stuff, it functions through honesty, through seeing what is honestly, not coloring it the way you think it ought to be or you ought to be a better you.
Yes. I would say I have a pretty strong preferences about a lot of things. I don't need, whether they're in the world.
Okay. Yeah. What don't you have a preference about? You say a lot of things as if there are things you don't have a strong preference about.
Yeah, well, there are things that I just don't get emotionally, like I don't own a car, so I don't have strong preferences for different types of models of cars. I don't have preferences for, I don't know, I don't read poetry. I don't have particular authors I like better than others. But anything I care about, I would say I have preferences here.
That was a really good couple examples of.
Yeah, that was great.
You gave people a really good way to look.
You demonstrated your genius, as a matter of fact.
Thank you.
you find, I caught a short on YouTube this morning when I was cooking, one of these short little things. And it went something like this. A boy comes home from school with a message for the mother from the teacher, and it says to be read only by your mother. So the mother reads the message aloud to the son. She says, your son is a genius, and he shouldn't be in this school because the school is too low for him. He's a genius, so you should homeschool him. Several years later, the mother dies, and the son is going through her papers, and he finds that note. And it said something like, your son is mentally handicapped, and you should keep him at home. He doesn't belong in this school.
Oh.
The son was Thomas Edison. Interesting, huh?
Yeah. But also, I'm caught by sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm caught by the fact that the mother told him the opposite.
No, she didn't tell him the opposite. She told him the truth.
Oh, so he heard that. Oh.
She told him he was a genius, and he was.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It wasn't the opposite.
She didn't cite the note literally, is what that she
Correct.
didn't state. Yeah, that's what
those words, so that he would discover his true genius. But it wasn't that he was somehow deficient. He was so superior to the teacher. He was brilliant in his own right, just different. Yeah. See, look, you hold your differences, Steve, as handicaps. You see what I'm saying? Now, look, this is video.
So
this
you
is
can't
audio because people, you can't nod.
Okay, yes. I won't nod. I won't only nod anyway. Yeah. I certainly appreciate being compared to Thomas Alva Edison, but
I left I was only talking about Tom.
Yeah. Anyway, I agree that I do hold my differences as handicaps, often consciously.
It's interesting. You said more recently, over the past period of time, you've been feeling more growly than you have in a while. I suspect that your self-judgment system has been more in control than the part of you that regularly engages with consistency. Because you're right. We have known you for a period of time, and you do come to seminars, but you haven't, in my experience, come to the more extended seminars recently. And when you do come to like a Monday or Living Made Easy, you almost never say anything. I've been watching you at a distance, and I haven't wanted to mess with it because that's your choice. And when we have people
we don't force people to talk.
We don't try and fix them or change them or make them better.
So we're not trying to fix you or change you and make you better.
But when you were here today, I was like, wow, this is really awesome. I wouldn't expect it from you, given how you've been operating in our presence lately.
Well, I would say, this may not be the case. It's my perception of myself that I feel more comfortable in these kind of one-on-one sessions than in bigger groups. And especially on Zoom for some reason. I was more comfortable talking, and when we meet in person, I think I notice I tend to participate more, which is why as soon as this, you have an upcoming seminar meeting in person, I definitely signed up for it right away. For some reason, I find Zoom a little more challenging, but in general, I think I'm more comfortable speaking in smaller than larger groups. But that's not the full extent of it. I also have, at least this is my perception, I could be wrong, that I'm so perfectionistic that if I think there's any risk of it not flying or me not communicating it well, that I just don't do it.
Well, I get what you're
how I
saying.
see it. Yeah.
I absolutely get what you're saying, and that's a very good excuse for not participating.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? If
Yes.
you already have the prejudice that you're
better in small groups or one-on-one,
then you won't step in and discover what else is possible. Look, Steve, life is short, babe. You know, you might as well engage in it like it matters, because otherwise you're sitting on the sidelines watching it go by, complaining to yourself that you should speak more.
Yeah, and I do complain about that.
I have to say, I find how clearly you're articulating your thought processes so refreshing. That you actually can see the breakdown of what motivates you to engage and what motivates you to not. If you see, oh, I'm actually more comfortable, quote, in smaller groups or one-on-one settings. Well, for one thing, there are other people here today, but you allowed yourself to include them and speak with us. I believe you can do something similarly, should you wish.
In any situation.
You know, you're not, even when we're speaking to larger groups of people, we're not speaking to larger groups of people. We're speaking to an individual at a time, or we're expressing ourselves.
Yeah, that's interesting that you said that. Because I don't have or haven't had a conscious awareness on speaking to an individual. Now, it might be more effective if I spoke to an individual, but usually I just speak to say what I had to say.
But for instance, here we're just talking with Steve.
Yes.
And if there were a room full of people and Steve were standing next to us, because usually when it's a room full of people, you have to do it so that he would come up front.
A live event.
Yes. Then we're just speaking with Steve.
That's
we're including
true. Yes,
them.
Exactly.
And if we're just expressing ourselves, talking about a theme, we aren't picking out Steve in the audience and then picking out Ursula and then let's talk to Judy. That's kind of a manipulation. We never do that.
That's right.
Yeah.
See, a lot of your conversation, Steve, though, is you proving that you are not the way you think you might be. He smiled. I got to tell you, he smiled with that.
Big. That was a big
That was a very big smile. It wasn't a verbal answer, but I got that I got him. See,
so
he's normal, by the way.
How many years have you been telling yourself that you're not comfortable in groups or on Zoom?
Well,
I mean, I probably always felt that subconsciously, but I'm aware of thinking that, particularly since the 4 or 5 years since COVID, I think. I've definitely had that feeling before that too.
I'm not sure any of us were particularly comfortable on Zoom in the beginning. The thing is that you registered something and then it gets imprinted, stamped, and then you hold it as a truth over time.
Yeah.
It precedes you into.
Well, you know, there's a chapter in our first book called Worms. And worms are ideas that are held before the mind as reality.
Write once, read many. So your first impression gets indelibly stamped.
Exactly.
It's always there.
And so you read through that set of letters. You read through that lens, if you will. So read once or write once, read many. When you write it, it's like a lens that you are looking at life through. And then everything gets analyzed through that lens where you're, again, right about your point of view, but it may not be an accurate assessment of reality. Yeah. See, look, I know I'm talking to a genius. I know that. I don't know that you know that. And sometimes you think you are a genius, but it's only sometimes when you're proving it rather than allowing yourself to be it. Now you got your eyes closed, and now you just smiled again. So
you got to speak.
Yeah, well, actually, I wanted to. I wasn't. If you could clarify, when I'm not sure when those moments happen. Although I believe they do. Of
course, you're not sure when those moments happen because you're not in control of it when it happens. You see. You're in control of it most of the time, or at least your thought process is in control of it most of the time. Every once in a while, your genius squeaks out the side.
So are you saying that the genius comes out when I'm not dominated by my thoughts, but simply being?
You're not trying to prove your okayness.
Yeah, when I'm relaxed and
now, what's interesting is I say it and then you change wording. Have you noticed that?
I did, yeah. I noticed that. I guess I'm trying to understand rather than just hear.
I love you.
That's exactly accurate, Steve. But trying to understand means you're trying to take the incoming information and place it in with what you already know so it fits linearly in that sequence of thought.
Yes.
It fits comfortably in your already ongoing system rather than
discover life newly. Allow what's being said to come into you without trying to figure it out. You know, I was down at the river yesterday, and there were these Baltimore Oreo birds. They're so pretty. They're like an orange and black. Very cool. And they have this beautiful sounding song. Now, I can't recreate that song, but I could hear the song. I didn't have to understand the song to hear the melody in it. See, you love opera.
Yes.
Do you understand the language it's sung in?
Well, some of them I know the story well enough that I do, that I read the text. I've read the text with the translation in the past. But not all operas, though.
Yeah. No, but of course you have. But if you hear an operatic piece and it sounds so melodious and beautiful and you just enjoy it, you don't have to understand the words.
No.
The music.
The feeling is enough, yeah.
Well, maybe it's true for listening as well. See, maybe you can listen without understanding, without fitting what's going on into what you already know. If you do, Steve, you may start discovering your life newly. Because when you fit it in with what you know, you're hearing it oldly through what you already see, believe, and know, rather than discovering the moment is unique in itself.
I keep coming back to just something you said earlier it was minute in a way, but it really caught for me your logic system. If you'd said, I really enjoy being compared to Thomas Edison because that's who we were speaking about. It had one experience. But when you say, I really enjoy being compared to Thomas Alva Edison, that's what Shya was talking about. You weren't just experiencing anything or allowing yourself to be a genius. You were proving something. What you know, I know about this. I know about him. I've read all about him.
I know his full name.
And you show how your mind works, which is really you have like an encyclopedic mind. Is that how you pronounce that word? You really do. You do. It's formidable. It's impressive. However, when it runs automatically, I suspect sometimes it's part of what leads you into the growling at your circumstances, because you're being right that this moment is incomplete, unfair, not unseen. There's something.
It's missing Alba.
It's missing Alba. The Alba factor.
Right.
I never mentioned my own middle name, though, so that's interesting.
You didn't mention your own middle.
I have one, but I don't. Anyway.
I'm not sure Thomas enjoyed Alba either. You never know.
Yeah. No, this is. I'm not trying to make reach a conclusion. This is very. I'm enjoying the conversation.
I love you yet again, and I'll tell you what happened. I know we're moving toward the end of this segment, which is fine. And I saw you wanting to tie it up with a conclusion, and I watched you back out of that habit. And well done. Loved speaking with you today.
Yeah, been a pleasure.
Me as well.
All righty then. Drum roll, please. You sound like our cat. It's time for our listener feedback spotlight while Shya is here purring with me. We get to hear from one of our listeners
about how transformation has impacted their lives. And if you'd like to learn more or register for any of our upcoming courses, visit transformationmadeeasy.com.
Yeah.
And when I say easy, it's like the fire swamp.
Yeah, join us.
If you know your way through it, it's easy. If you have a good guide, it's easy. If you don't, well, there's rodents of unusual size. There's lightning sand.
All those
thing?
I don't remember.
Oh, and the fire spurts.
There
right.
you go.
There you go.
We're great
Transformation made easy.com.
I like transformation. When I'm calling in being here, it's always a surprise what I get there.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel and Shya's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
For those of you in the U.S., happy Independence Day tomorrow. We'll be back for Living Made Easy seminars next Monday. You can check the full schedule to see the 2-hour events that are next upcoming, depending on when you're listening to this, if you're listening to it in real time or in the archive. Upcoming weekends, I think that Steve just mentioned the in-person one we have coming up, Creativity and Intuition.
That's in New Jersey, and that will be August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
It's a Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, and you're invited. Transformational Time and Project Management is happening September 28, 29.
And that is a virtual seminar.
Costa Rica 2025. Wow. This past year, actually the past 2 years, but this one really gained some momentum to it, whilst not going anywhere, which is odd. But people really, really relaxed into their brilliance without having to prove it to themselves.
Right.
If you want to know more about our seminars, sign up for our newsletter. And
if you want to know more about our seminars, join us for one.
Why not? Transformationmadeeasy.com is where you can find out more. Let's take our next guest.
Yes,
Ursula.
Ursula.
Welcome to being.
I'm coming. Hi, this is Ursula.
Take you a moment to unmute, right?
Well, it was
Yes.
right, wasn't it?
I'm from St. Gallen, Switzerland.
Welcome to being here. So nice being with you.
Oh, look, I've been listening to the show before, and it just triggered so many experiences, and I had such a good laugh at a few things.
Yes.
Yes, the alpha factor, I do know that too. I can be pretty brainy if I choose to.
Well, let me ask you a question. You said you choose to. Does that happen automatically, or do you actually choose to be brainy when you're being brainy?
It happens automatically.
That's right.
Yes.
There's the apparency of choice, but the reality is it comes over you.
So when it comes over you, do you have any, now that you're
Distance?
distanced, or you're removed from it in a way that you can have a laugh about it, which is always for me like, oh, when I can see my way of relating to life and find it amusing, as opposed to, oh God, I got to change that. What kind of thing triggers you into the brainy thing?
It can be different things. It can be that I'm insecure about something.
Okay.
And I want to brush over it with my brain. I want to prove that somebody who's talking about an important topic that he's wrong or she's wrong.
Probably more likely the first.
I'm right. What did you say?
I said more likely the first than the second. He's wrong, or she.
Yeah. It was he too, because it just happened this morning.
Yeah.
Yes, I have joined a new fitness. Fitness. It's not a fitness studio. You've got like a personal trainer, and it's a very condensed training. It only lasts for 6 minutes, but during those 6 minutes, you get this trainer which is really looking after you and correcting your like every muscle, and it's I really like it. It was the second time today. And so it was like the second, like larger training, because they have to explain some stuff still. And he explained to me the measurements of the scale that I was on, where that like registers everything like density of bones and stuff. So it's like a really thorough training. And while he was talking, I had a question, and he immediately didn't answer the question. So I could see myself rolling my eyes at him. I hope I didn't do it on the outside. I'm not sure. But and he was explaining a lot of things, and for quite some moments I went like, oh yeah, there we go again. I know that. And then I thought, how about some listening? It'll just take longer if I don't. And it was a lovely experience, and he had some lovely, he got, through what he was explaining, and then I could ask some questions, and we had a lovely training. But it was so automatic. I was shocked. I thought, oh no. And then I thought, oh well, yes, that's me.
You just demonstrated the 3 principles. Oh no. Okay, here it is. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, it was fun. It was like the growling. The growling is always around the corner.
That is true. It's like a light switch.
How do you mean?
Turn the light switch and turn the lights on. You can throw the light switch and turn the lights off. Your growling is like on demand. As soon as you disagree with the way life is showing up, your growling is there.
Yeah, Ursa.
Ursula the bear.
Yes. I got a good one in there. Ursula.
Did you have any questions for us today?
I don't know.
Well, you don't have to. Just check.
I don't think so. I've got a lot of gratitude for you. That I do.
I was just thinking about your mom.
You have?
Just now, I was thinking about your mom.
What about
And that you've created an environment where your mother can be as great as she is.
I guess I never saw it like that.
Well, I really appreciate how often you set it up and support her and being able to come to the Living Mateys, whether it's the European Tuesday evenings or the Saturday mornings.
And even if you're not there, she shows up and she is brilliant.
And experiences herself that way.
And, you know, she's a lady in her 80s.
She's amazing. She's amazing. She's, as you said, she's 83, about to be 84 next week. And yeah. And she still plays a lot of music in church and in senior citizens' homes. And she had to accompany a cello in one of the services that she had. She plays the organ or the piano. Mm-hmm. And she said, and she sent me the pieces when she got the offer, and she said, "Do you think I can do that?" And we looked through them, and we chose four that I thought it was possible because I know she's quite a good player. And then she said, "Could I come and I could play to you?" And I said, "You mean you want to come for a piano lesson?" And she said, "Oh, well, yes." And I said, "Yes, please." And so I had a piano lesson with my mum, and she was sitting there, and then she was getting ready and putting the sheet music in front of her. And then she looked at me and she said, "You know, I'm really nervous. I haven't had a piano lesson for a long, long, long time. Like, I think 50 years ago." And I said, "Well, but it's me." And she said, "Yes. That's why I'm nervous." We had the loveliest time. It was just, and I was so in awe of her, really.
Well, you know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah, there's hope. Thank you.
Well, you see, that's an interesting thing, that you diminish your own greatness.
When you say there's hope as opposed to you're already full blown.
I see you full blown great, not getting there. Getting there is change. Getting there is incremental. Getting there is someday maybe. But I see what's magnificent in this moment. So there's no getting there. You're there.
Yeah, I like that. That's beautiful. Yeah, I didn't catch that. Thank you.
You know, it's fun as we're talking to you, Ursula. I realize that you're helping us set up for next week's episode, which we normally talk about at the end, but we can talk about now. The next week's episode is actually a German saying, "Selber selber," which means it takes one to know one. I think it's really fun that you can be in awe of your mother's genius. And don't recognize you couldn't actually have the capacity
to recognize it if you didn't have exist. It in you.
Like if you were tone deaf, you couldn't hear the opera, perhaps. For sure, if you're colorblind, you don't register certain colors. So if you're seeing the richness of your mom's ability, then
it exists in you.
I mean, like, of course, you and your mom are brilliant performers on organ and piano, for example.
And singers.
when you guys harmonize, particularly doing yodels, and you can do it on demand. You have for years and years. I've seen you do it together in Costa Rica. I've seen you do it on Zoom. There's something so wonderful about, you pressing the start button and being able to do something that I have I don't know if I have no capability of. I certainly have no training in. And I admire it.
I love that. And I have to say that quite probably half to 3/4 of that training to press the button and go, I got from you. Because there was some growling involved in earlier times. And, sort of, they should ask me again, or they should ask me 3 times, and then I'll do it. And that's gone.
That's the secret for non-relationship.
Yeah.
The secret for relationship is yes, dear.
Or anticipating what might be requested before it's requested rather than waiting for the request.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we already told you what next week's episode is. So let's just tell you that if you want to share this podcast with your friends, would be honored. If you've subscribed to us, we are honored. We're just honored that you listened today. Thank you for being with us.
Yes.
We'll be back next week.
So come on back.
And don't miss
Being here.